I lived really close to the rugby club. My mum's family was a big rugby family. And I went down, I played mini rugby in my local town of Skerries Rugby Club, and I loved everything about the club. So whether it was like working in the sweet shop or the summer camps or doing any of the festivities associated with the rugby club, I was always keen on it. I just loved being affiliated with such a special place, and honestly, I still love being associated with that rugby club. My uncle would have been a captain, my grandfather would have been president and captain. So yeah, it's certainly a family thing, and my mum and dad were just so supportive about anything that we wanted to do. I probably only realized in the last few years how lucky I was and still am, that my parents are just so supportive and just such people that I get along with. And then so I worked for a professional organization called Leinster Rugby, and they're like a big professional team in Europe. They'd be quite well known in the rugby circles. And essentially, if I describe it to Canadians that don't know rugby, it's like working for the Maple Leafs. Now they do have a better winning record, to be fair. But from a brand recognition, it was such a great organization to work for. And then, I was 4 years working there, and I was really young, and I hadn't really done the traveling or life experience. So what was originally supposed to be a week turned into 3 months coming to Canada. That's since turned into whatever we are now, 13 years and a Canadian citizenship. I wasn't a brilliant athlete, so the dream is always to be an athlete, and then you look around and everybody else is better than you. Like that dream needs to turn into something else. Like I used to do a lot of stuff, like I used to manage teams. Like I did radio presenting on rugby. Like I didn't really care. I wanted to be involved, and I never thought I was the smartest person in the room, and I always thought a lot of the famous coaches that I looked up to were always the smartest people in the room. So it was only later on that I realized that maybe like having a outgoing personality and being a people person could be, I suppose, my own X factor. And although I'd love to be the smartest person in the room, it was something that I loved. I started to love coaching, and I certainly love competing, and I just wanted to work in rugby and be part of it, and the coaching part of it just kind of grew, I guess. I'd like to say that I'm people first. I'm very game based, and I want things to be purposeful. I want things to be active, and I want things to be fun. I hope, and there's times where you come off in a training session and go, don't know if I tick those 3 boxes, but I do hope that most training sessions are designed around that, and I hope my athletes could. And that's probably a bigger question, is how would your athletes describe you? And I don't, every time I think of that question, you kind of get that cringe because you want it to be true, but you probably don't know it's true. But it's a nice little leveler to bring you back to what your principles are around coaching. But they change with every team that you coach. I started in 2025 officially, so I started the first week in January. So I mean, the season is quite short. That we'd 9 months of not playing, which was really strange for me, going into a university every day. And although we did a lot of training sessions and tried to emulate some form of competition or scrimmages as much as possible, the not competing in a U Sport season until the 31st of August, it was a long time. So that took a while getting used to, and then learning the different nuances of you're not dealing with athletes, you're dealing with student athletes, and learning those nuances is still very new. I make probably 4 or 5 mistakes every day. Just ask the athletes. But like, I'm still trying to get to understand the nuances of university sport and of the demands and pressures of balancing your academic life with the expectations of trying to achieve good stuff in your sport as well. So ask me in a year maybe, but one of the things I've had to lean on a lot of the other coaches in terms of there's a lot of experience in the University of Ottawa, which is great. My direct boss, Danica Smith, is unbelievable. She's a great ambassador for sport and has been amazing to work with. But also, like, the rugby community is quite small, and I'm certainly leaning on my rivals, which I would have known through different positions, through provincial rugby or national rugby, and I certainly ask a lot of advice to them as well. So that's been the most important resources for me, and I certainly don't think I've got it yet. There were 70,000 people watching women's rugby in a sold-out 3-day event. To be there, whether I was on the sideline or like my own family sitting there having a hot dog and a Coke, like, I think both are incredibly special. It felt like it changed. It felt like it was a big step for women's sport. It felt like it was a huge step forward for women's rugby for sure, and you're still seeing the benefits of it. I think the Women's World Cup that's taking place right now, with so many U Sport, former U Sport and current U Sport athletes still playing it, I think it's a continuation. It didn't, like, that was always going in this trend, but it's just both are just adding to each other, which is so special. And you know, I loved the experience. It was one of the most rewarding things that I'll ever do. It was one of the most challenging things that I'll ever do, and to continue those relationships, and you know, to play against some of the athletes that I coach over the last number of years will be really special, because like, it is I think that experience will always be a memory that we'll get to serve together, and it went amazing, but those athletes went and did it all. I just got to be in the room, which I think is really special, and I'll always thank them for that, for allowing myself and the other staff members to be present in it. And yeah, it's something that can never be taken away from them, and it was a real moment where it wasn't just celebrating Canadian rugby. It really felt like Team Canada, and the support from every proud Canadian sports fan was infectious, and it's something that I'm sure people are sick of me talking about it, to be honest. But I don't know, it's just one of those memories that doesn't feel that long ago. And there were so many stories from it, so just love being part of it every step of the way. And when you're competing and winning the highest accolades in the world, it's like it's a lot of pinch you moments for sure. I mean, I probably didn't picture myself. I watched Rio in 2016 where Canada achieved a bronze medal. Watched Tokyo 5 years later, where it was a COVID Olympics, and even watching them, I never thought it would be me there. And I would say a lot of Canadian rugby fans didn't want it to be me either, but it was something that Rugby Canada took a chance on me that I was incredibly grateful for. I wasn't ready, but I don't think you're ever ready for a big job. But you know, some of the athletes we had a really young squad as well, and I've no doubt that Jocelyn Barrio, who of course is a former U Sports head coach herself, I've no doubt that, like, watching the team last year, I was so impressed with another step forward that she has taken the team, and that seeing a couple of new athletes, but also a lot of the core there. Like, I've no doubt that they can go to LA, and that this becomes and that was what was special about Paris, was we didn't just become a Olympic medal winning sport, we became a multiple Olympic medal winning sport, having already done it in Rio, and that's something that I hope will continue. And when you tell the story, people ask, oh, which medal was that? which I think hopefully will keep inspiring the next generation of women's rugby players to want to play for the Maple Leaf. A couple of Olympians have come in to give me a hand and coach the athletes, or just be around, and even just looking at them, like they're peers, they're the same age. Like we had Chloe Daniels, who will be playing for Queens this year, and we Chrissy Skirfield recently, who played for UVic. They're peers, they're the same age, they've probably played against each other, but the way they're looked at, and even Chrissy commented this, Chrissy was like, they're looking at me as if like I'm like this different person, but I competed against these girls like only 2 years ago. So I think it's to see that, I think, is amazing, and to see for women's rugby players to be recognized walking down the street, like that's something that reminds us every day just how much how important it is, and how now it is in the main spotlight, and long may it continue.